The business world is always changing, right? New trends, new tech, it feels like it shifts every single day. So what if you could just ignore all that noise and focus on the skills that never go out of style? Well, today, we're going to break down the 11 timeless principles that have built fortunes for centuries, and trust me, they'll keep working long after today's fads are a distant memory.
This really gets to the heart of what we're talking about. Money isn't the goal, it's a consequence. It's a result that flows directly from real, valuable skill. So this isn't about chasing the next big thing, it's about building a foundation so strong that success becomes, almost inevitable.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big idea, the timeless premise. Then we'll dive into the 3 tiers of mastery. First, building your core business engine. Then scaling it all up, and finally adding that legendary X factor. Let's jump in.
So let's start with that big idea, the timeless premise. And it's really simple when you think about it. Skill is the only currency that never, ever loses its value. Platforms change, technologies come and go, but the fundamental ability to create value for other people, that's the one asset you can count on, always.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're at our first group of skills, what I call the core business engine. You've got to think of these next 4 as the absolute non-negotiables. They are the bedrock that takes you from just an idea to a real business that actually has momentum.
First up, strategy. The average approach is just to have an idea, right? Hey, I'm going to open a cafe. But an exceptional strategist isn't just thinking about today. They're asking, where is this whole market going? Just look at Netflix. They didn't get stuck on DVDs. They saw streaming was the future. And then they saw original content was the next future. They kept dominating the next market, not just hanging on to the current one.
Okay, let's talk innovation. Because man, so many people get this wrong. They think it means inventing something totally new out of thin air. But that's not it at all. Think about Apple. They didn't invent the MP3 player, and they didn't invent the smartphone. But what they did was make them 10 times better. So much better that the original versions basically became obsolete overnight. That's real innovation.
So, you've got a great product. So what? It's completely useless if nobody knows it exists, and that's where marketing comes in. Now, the average approach is just to shout louder than everyone else, begging for attention. But the real pros, the exceptional marketers like Nike, they do something different. They don't shout, they get chosen. By connecting their gear with legends like Michael Jordan, they associate their brand with the very idea of winning, and that makes you want to be part of their story.
And that brings us to the final piece of the core engine, sales. And listen, we need to completely reframe this. Forget the sleazy, high-pressure car salesman stereotype. True, masterful sales is actually the skill of guiding someone, of helping them make the right decision for them. It's about being a problem solver. It's an act of service. And without it, all that great strategy and marketing, it produces $0. Okay, so you've got your core engine running. You're making things happen. But how do you go from a little startup to a real scalable system? Well, this next section, scaling and optimization, is all about building the machine that lets you grow without completely falling apart.
First up in this section is negotiation. And this is a seriously high-stakes game. One bad deal can literally kill a company. Just think about SpaceX. Elon Musk had to pull off the impossible. He had to negotiate rocket part prices down to a tiny fraction of their cost. And he had to convince the US government to give his totally unproven company billion-dollar contracts. That single skill on both ends of the deal was the razor's edge between bankruptcy and orbit.
Then we have leadership. And this is not about being the boss and giving orders. It's about shaping the entire culture. The perfect example is Satya Nadella at Microsoft. When he took over, he inherited this really toxic know-it-all culture where everyone was afraid to make a mistake. His genius was flipping that, turning it into a learn-it-all culture that encouraged experimentation and coaching. That one shift in leadership woke up a sleeping giant.
Okay, now for a skill that is so underrated, system design. Most businesses just run on chaos and improvisation. But the exceptional ones, they build bulletproof, scalable systems. The absolute master of this? McDonald's. Seriously, think about it. McDonald's isn't really a restaurant. It's a perfectly engineered machine that delivers the exact same product
the exact same way anywhere on Earth. That's the incredible power of system design.
So with all these things going on, where do you actually put your time, your money, your energy? That's the art of resource allocation. It's about having the discipline to focus on the one thing that will make the biggest difference. Nobody did this better than Jeff Bezos at Amazon. He took profits from his main bookstore business and poured them into this tiny little side project called AWS. That single, focused bet grew into the most profitable part of the entire company. That's strategic focus.
Okay, we've covered the engine that gets you started and the systems that help you scale. But what's the thing that separates the merely great companies from the ones that become legendary? Now we get to the final tier, the legendary X factor. These are the intangibles, the things that forge a true legacy.
A lot of people chalk this one up to luck, but timing? Timing is a skill. A brilliant idea at the wrong time is just a failure. A perfect example, remember Vine? It pioneered short-form video, but the world just wasn't ready. Phones were slow, internet was spotty. Years later, TikTok comes along with the exact same idea, but launches it into a world that was primed and ready. Same idea, world-changing difference in timing. Here's a hard truth. Nobody builds a legacy by themselves. It just doesn't happen. That's why networking is so much more than just collecting business cards. It's about assembling the right team of people to solve impossible problems. Think about Sam Altman at OpenAI. His real genius wasn't just his own vision, it was his incredible ability to find and connect the most brilliant minds on the planet to work on a single problem. That team is what changed the world.
And finally, we have branding. And please, 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 do not just think of a logo. A logo is just decoration. A brand is a feeling. It's the sum total of every single interaction a person has with your business. And you know who the master is at this? Apple. From the ads you see, to the way the store feels, to the satisfaction of unboxing a new product, every single detail is engineered to make you feel something exceptional. That feeling is the brand, and it might be their most powerful asset.
Wow. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground here, right? We've gone from the core engine to the scaling systems all the way to that legendary X factor. So let's bring it all home and talk about how you can actually put this stuff into action.
So let's just pull it all together in one simple framework. You've got the core engine, strategy, innovation, marketing, and sales that gets you off the ground. Then you've got the scaling system, negotiation, leadership, system design, and resource allocation that lets you grow without blowing up. And finally, the legendary X factor, timing, networking, and branding, which is what makes you last. Those are the 3 tiers of business mastery.
And all of this brings us to the last, and honestly, the most important question of all. A question for you. Just look at this list of skills. Think about where you are right now, and think about where you really want to go. Which one of these skills, if you truly dedicated yourself to mastering it, would fundamentally transform your future? Whatever your answer is, that's your starting point. That's where you begin.